representative from the 17th Congressional District of Florida and a damn good friend of the show, Representative Greg Steube in the house. Hey, man.
Hey, how are you? Thanks for having me.
Of course. I'm reading my New York Post over the weekend, and instead of the usual front page article about the Yankees sucking or some Met fan getting ready to jump off the George Washington Bridge, I get Steube moving to impeach President Biden over alleged ties to the Hunter dealings. First of all, bravo. But what was the breaking point for you? That's what I have to know.
So the breaking point for me was when Chair Comer of Oversight released all the financial records through discovery that the committee has received, showing that the Biden crime family has received over $20 million from places like Ukraine, Romania, the Chinese Communist Party. And then you tie that with some of the information of the other investigations the House has been doing. IRS Whistleblowers Ways and Means Committee, the Weaponization Committee. You start putting all the pieces together, and you have $5 million going to the Biden family. And after, Joe Biden, who publicly said and bragged about firing the prosecutor in Ukraine on the Burisma deal, his son getting $80,000 a month on the Burisma deal, we now have the actual financial evidence that they have received over $20 million. And I just can't sit back and let this go without taking some type of action. We can't, obviously, nor is this DOJ going to go after Biden criminally. The only sword that the House has is impeachment. And I think it's long past time to start an impeachment inquiry.
Well, it's crazy because when you really look at this objectively, the level of lie we've been told by this president. First of all, it started out with the laptop's faked, end of story. And then
Russian disinformation.
I went from never talking to my kid, I'm not involved, to when you hear like the Devin Archer testimony is crazy because the pivot to defend Biden now, everyone's abandoned, hey, Russian disinformation. They've abandoned, hey, never talk to his kid or his business partners. It's now, like all people who weren't involved, he talked to his business partners 20 times, but never about the business. I mean, is there any Democrat that believes that, or are they just retreating to a tribal corner here?
Well, now the Democrats' basis of defense for Biden is, Joe never took any money directly. So, there's no evidence that Joe took money directly, despite the fact that Comer said that there were bank accounts that both Hunter and Joe had together, and they were moving money around. So, but let's just for a second take that argument at its face value. So you're saying if my brother or my wife or my son takes $20 million from Ukraine, Chinese Communist Party, and Russian oligarchs in exchange for official action as a member of Congress, saying I'm going to change my vote to vote for Ukraine funding because my wife got $20 million from Ukraine. You don't think that that's corruption, bribery, and action that can be taken on our on our federal code? Absolutely.
No.
I'd be if I would have done any of this stuff, any member of Congress would have done any of this, we would be in jail right now.
100%. We're talking to Florida Representative Greg Steube. Yes, what the Democratic defenses come down to now is he doesn't do cocaine. He just likes the smell of it.
Right. Well, he didn't take any money directly. I mean, just went to a bank account for Hunter, and then Hunter moved money for Joe, but he didn't take any directly. So that's not a crime. That's really a crime.
Of course. And it's like, how many businesses have you not been involved with where you called in 20 times to their meetings just to show how uninvolved you were? Like, people know, I think the average person realizes what's going on here. He's selling access to his father. There'd be no other reason to give Hunter the money. So my question becomes, what kind of appetite is it within the party? Are the Republicans fired up for this? I know the Democrats aren't going to play ball.
Of course, yeah. So what's been interesting is I have not talked directly to Speaker McCarthy, but I've seen what he has said recently on this issue, and it seems he's much more open to an impeachment inquiry based on his comments than he has previously been, because the evidence is just now overwhelming.
Yeah.
I mean, and now Comer's going to do subpoenas on Hunter's financial information, not just the LLCs. So we may actually have evidence that Hunter transferred money to Dad or paid expenses for Dad. And then the Democrats' only argument right now goes away. But I think there's now an appetite, given all of this testimony. Not only do you have the factual hard evidence, but you now have corroborating Devin Archer, Bob Alinsky. You have corroborating testimony that backs up all of this, that Joe was involved, Joe was in meetings, Joe would make the phone call. You've got the WhatsApp message to the Chinese Communist Party guy, hey, I'm sitting next to my dad. If you don't wire the money, then he's going to call you, or you're going to need to talk to him, or like veiled, like direct threats that you don't send the money, dad's going to get involved. He's sitting right next to me. How is that not involving them? So I think the appetite has changed. Look, we didn't want to rush into impeachment, right? Like the Democrats did, and make a mockery of the complete process. But now you have evidence. I think it's time to open an inquiry. Let the Judiciary Committee start deposing, work our way up once we have all the financial records from Hunter, and work our way up to having the president come in and answer some tough questions and go through the inquiry process. And I think at that point, I don't see how Democrats vote against it, given all of the facts that we now have. They will, because it's political.
Yeah.
But I can't sit back as a member of Congress representing a district in the country and say, oh, this is okay. We're going to have a different standard for the Biden family, and we're not going to quote put the country through impeachment again.
That is such a racket. We're talking to Florida Representative Greg Steube. Let me ask you this: Did you read that? Did you read into the appointment of the special counsel as if that was them trying to give the Bidens some coverage, if only because they can say, ongoing investigation, we don't have to cooperate with whatever you guys are doing over in the House?
100%. So that's now anything that we, Congress, does to try to get information from DOJ or Weiss or the special counsel or their investigation, they're going to be like, nope, can't talk to you, can't give you information. It's an ongoing investigation. They're going to hide behind that. That was 100% used to protect him, but that doesn't prevent us from getting financial information from Hunter's bank account showing where all this money went.
Wow.
So there's still things that we can do that'll be outside of the purview of that, because that the DOJ and the FBI are just playing defense for the big guy.
Well, it is so crazy, though, because when you really think about it, you guys are actually so close. They're clearly feeling like a major league heat here, because if you have nothing to hide, you're not watching, first of all, a plea deal that would have exonerated the kid from future crimes or crimes unrelated to the plea deal. No objective person looks at that and goes, wow, this is completely on the level. So, you would have to think you guys are onto something pretty significant here.
I think this is corruptible activity, 100 times more than Watergate, millions of dollars. And I think if you read between, they've gotten, I can't remember what the number is, 10 million, 5 million, however much millions of dollars they got from the Chinese Communist Party. And the Chinese Communist Party flies a spy balloon over our country, nuclear sites, military bases, and you do nothing about it. You can't tell me that doesn't compromise the decisions that you make when your family and maybe ultimately you have received millions of dollars from that country.
Yeah, no, there's no question. It's like if you walk past a singer from a band that's famous and you see them at a bar or an airport, you go home and listen to their music. I can't imagine how your emotions would be influenced if they gave you $10 million, But
well, one of the things I put in the resolution was the $3 million this Russian oligarch gave to Hunter. Directly after that, they have dinner with Hunter and Joe in Washington with this Russian oligarch. And then she's, interestingly, one of the very few people, if not the only Russian oligarch not sanctioned by the United States government right now after they invaded Ukraine. I wonder why.
Go figure. Florida Representative Greg Steube on the line. One last one I'll throw at you. As a 45-year-old congressman, you look at Hunter Biden and you say, we got to impeach this guy, and I agree wholeheartedly. But is there a 25-year-old Greg Steube that would have thought this guy was fun to hang out with?
No, I was never into prostitution and cocaine.
Well, maybe not that, but the guy was living.
The crowd I was hanging out with.
That's funny. Defense wins championships. You even knew that as a 25-year-old. Well, I commend you. You're a better man than my producer, is all I'll say. Stoops, keep playing good ball out there, man, because we know you guys are hot on the trail now. When we saw the special counsel go down last week on Friday, I lost it. I was like, wow, because this is human shield territory now. In what really does look like a racketeering case. For every lie we've been told, you could just come back to one basic fact. No legitimate entity is transferring funds through 15 shell accounts that involve grandchildren. Not one.
grandchildren, family members, even the Biden's own administration, I put this in the resolution too, flagged the transactions, the $5 million from Burisma, as an issue during the Obama administration. And these are Democrats who are like, there's a problem here. This shouldn't be going on.
That is, dude, it is nuts. Keep playing good ball. Hire a food taster, too, if you haven't already. And we'll talk soon, all right, brother?
All right, thank you.
Be well. The great Greg Stubbe, who I got to tell